So hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to balance chemical equations. So here is our first example. So we have hydrogen G, G means gas, and chlorine gas combined to make hydrochloric acid. So ganito natin i-express yung ating chemical reaction using word equation. But since ang topic natin is chemical equation, so itong word equation natin, ipapalitan natin ng chemical equation. So magiging ganito siya. So for hydrogen, we have H2. For chlorine, we have Cl2. And for hydrochloric acid, we have HCl. But don't worry guys, dahil yung sasagutan nyo sa answer sheet ay nakasulat na in word equation. So the first thing that we need to do in balancing chemical equation is to put a vertical line under this arrow to separate our reactants and yung ating product. So yeah. So for the second step, we are going to list all the elements present here in reactants, gayon din naman sa product. So meron tayong hydrogen and Cl, stands for chlorine. So ngayon, lahat ng elements sa present dito sa reactants ay present din siya dito sa product. So kaya, kung paano natin sinulat ng pagkakasunod-sunod, yung elements dito, dapat ganun din natin siya isulat dito ng pagkakasunod-sunod para hindi tayo malito mamaya pag nag-balance na tayo. So, inuna natin yung H dito, unahin din natin yung hydrogen. Sunod yung Cl, stands for chlorine. Okay, so for the third step, we are going to count the number of atoms of each element. So, for hydrogen, we have 2 atoms. For chlorine, we have also 2 atoms. And from this side naman, yung hydrogen natin, kung mapapansin nyo, walang subscript. O kumbaga walang number na nakalagay dito sa baba katulad nila. Given dito. So understood yan na meron ng 1. Hindi lang natin nakita dahil hindi pa siya handa. Joke lang. Okay, so we have 1 atom for hydrogen and 1 atom for chlorine. So kung mapapansin natin, hindi balance yung number of atoms ng hydrogen and chlorine from this side to this side. Kaya ang gagawin natin, we are going to think of a number and put it here before the compound. But yung ilalagay nating number dyan, dapat ay magbabalance siya sa number of atom dito sa kabila. Kasi kung mapapansin natin, di ba, yung number of atom ng hydrogen dito ay 2. Pagdating naman din sa product natin, yung number of hydrogen is 1. Gayon din sa chlorine. Kung mapapansin natin dito 2, dito naman ay 1. So makita natin siya na hindi balance. So mag-isip tayo ng number. So try natin yung 1. Lagyan natin dyan 1. Then try natin 1 times 1 is equal to 1. So hindi pa rin siya balance kasi yung number of atoms ng hydrogen dito sa reactants ay 2. Dito naman sa product ay 1 pa din. Hindi pa rin sila balance. So try naman natin yung sa Cl. 1 times 1 is equal to 1. So, hindi pa rin siya balance. So, mali yung 1. I-try naman natin yung 2. Okay. So, 2 times 1 is equal to 2. So, kung mapapansin natin, balance na yung number of atoms ng hydrogen dito sa reactants. Kung i-compare natin sa number of atoms ng hydrogen dito sa product. Parehas na silang 2. So, for chlorine naman, 2 times 1. Diba? Para tayong grade 1. So, 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Okay. So, kung mapapansin natin, balance na sila. So, ganito lang natin siya sasagutan. Okay. So, for our next example, we have xenon and fluorine. So again, for the first step that we are going to do is to draw a vertical line under this arrow to separate the elements of reactants sa elements ng product. And for the second step, we are going to list all the elements. So we have Xe stands for xenon and F stands for fluorine. So again, kung ano yung mga elements sa present dito sa reactants, ay present din siya dito sa product. And para hindi tayo mahirapan mamaya kapag nagbabalance na tayo, dapat kung ano yung order ng pagkakasulat natin ng mga elements dito sa reactants, ay ganun din yung pagkakasulat natin dito sa product. So, inuna natin yung xenon, unahin din natin dito yung xenon. Next, yung fluorine. So now we are going to count the number of atoms of each element. So kung mapapansin natin dito yung Xe or yung sino natin, wala siyang subscript or yung number dito sa baba. So automatically na meron siyang 1 atom. And for fluorine, we have 2 atoms. So dito, ganun din, wala din siyang subscript. So automatically ulit na meron siyang 1 atom. And for fluorine, we have 6 atoms. Okay, so now kung mapapansin natin, yung number of atoms ng xenon is balanced na. But pagdating natin dito sa fluorine, kung mapapansin natin, yung number of atoms ng fluorine dito sa product ay mas mataas kumpara dito sa reactants. So ang gagawin natin, kung saan yung may mas mababang number of atoms, dun tayo mas magfo-focus. So since andito yung fluorine na may 2 atoms sa reactants, dito tayo magdadagdag ng coefficient. So yung coefficient natin, dito lang natin siya nilalagay sa harap ng elements or before the elements or ng compounds. So bawal natin siya ilagay dito sa hulihan. Dito lang lagi dapat sa harapan ng elements or ng compounds. Okay, so now mag-iisip tayo ng number na kapag tinimes natin sa 2 ay mag-equal sa 6. And yun ay 3. So 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Okay, so now balance na siya. Okay, so sir, question, bakit di na lang po natin baguhin yung subscript, gawin natin 6? O di ba balance na? So wag niyo pong gagawin yan kasi yung subscript, hindi na po siya nagbabago. Kung ano yung number or yung subscript na andyan present sa elements, ayun na po siya, hindi na siya magbabago. Sana all. So here is our third example. So let's draw a vertical line here first to separate the elements of reactants and the product. So in this case, as we can see, we have 3 elements. So we have carbon, sulfur, and oxygen. And also for this side, we have also carbon, sulfur, and oxygen. So now let's count the number of atoms of each element. So for carbon here, we have only 1 atom. For sulfur, we have also 1 atom. And for oxygen, we have 2 atoms. So for this side naman, kung mapapansin natin, there are 2 carbons. But wala silang subscript. So ang gagawin natin, ipag-add lang natin yung subscript nila which is 1. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So yung carbon natin dito, meron siyang 2 atoms. And for sulfur, we have also 2 atoms. And for oxygen, we have only 1 atom. Okay, so kung mapapansin natin ngayon, hindi ulit balance yung mga number of atoms ng ating mga elements. So simulan muna natin sa sulfur. So kung mapapansin natin sa sulfur, mas mataas yung number of atoms ng sulfur dito sa product kung ikukumpara natin dito sa reactants. So it means dito tayo maglalagay ng coefficient. So para maging balance, kailangan natin ng 2 atoms. So maglalagay tayo ng 2 dito. So 2 times 1, yung imaginary niya, is equal to 2. So balance na yung ating sulfur. So since this is a compound, so yung sulfur, kasama niya yung oxygen. So yung oxygen, maapektuhan na rin yung number of atoms niya. So we have 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So since 4 yung atoms ng oxygen natin dito, dapat yung number of atoms ng oxygen natin dito ay 4 din. So maglalagay tayo dito ng coefficient na 4. Okay, so 4. Balance na yung ating oxygen. But since this is also a compound, so yung carbon natin ay maapektuhan din. So we have 4 carbons plus 1 carbon is equal to 5 carbons. So since 5 carbons yung number of atoms natin dito, dapat 5 carbons din yung dito sa kabila. So maglalagay tayo ng coefficient na 5 dito sa harap. So we have 5 atoms of carbon. So now kung makikita natin, balance na sila. So for carbon, we have 5 atoms here, 5 atoms here. For sulfur, we have 2 atoms here, 2 atoms here. And for oxygen, we have 4 atoms here and 4 atoms here. So ganyan lang natin siya sasagutan. So here is our last example. So let's draw a vertical line here first under the arrow to separate the elements of reactants and the product. So in this case, we have 4 elements. So we have aluminum, hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. And also for this side, we have also aluminum, hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. Okay, so now let's count the number of atoms of each element. So for aluminum, we have only 1 atom. For hydrogen, we have 2 atoms. For sulfur, we have only 1 atom. And for oxygen, we have 4 atoms. And for this side naman, yung aluminum natin, meron tayong 2 atoms. And for hydrogen, we have also 2 atoms. For sulfur and oxygen, kung mapapansin natin, nasa loob sila ng parenthesis. So it means lahat ng number of atoms ng bawat elements na nasa loob ng parenthesis ay multiply natin by 3. So for sulfur, we have 1 times 3 is equal to 3. For oxygen, 4 times 3 is equal to 12. Okay, so now kung mapapansin natin, hindi na ulit balance yung number of atoms ng bawat elements. So mag-focus muna tayo dito kay oxygen. Kung mapapansin natin dito sa oxygen, mas madami yung number of atoms ng oxygen dito sa product kumpara dito sa reactants. So dito tayo mag-focus sa may mas mababang number of atoms ng oxygen. Dito tayo maglalagay ng coefficient. So mag-isip tayo ng number na kapag minultiply natin by 4 ay mag-equal to 12. And that number is 3. Because 3 times 4 is equal to 12. Okay, so now, kung mapansin natin, balance na yung number of atoms ng oxygen dito sa reactants and yung number of atoms ng oxygen dito sa product. But since this is a compound, so yung hydrogen and sulfur natin ay maapektuhan din ng coefficient natin na 3. So for hydrogen, unahin muna natin yung hydrogen. Yung hydrogen, we have 2 atoms times 3 is equal to 6. And kung ilan yung number of atoms ng hydrogen dito sa reactants, dapat ganun din sa kabila para maging balance sila. So mag-isip tayo ng number na kapag minultiply natin by 2 ay mag-equal sa 6. And that number is 3. Because 3 times 2 is equal to 6. So balance na yung ating hydrogen. Meron pa tayong sulfur. So 1 atom of sulfur times 3 is equal to 3. And then dito naman sa product, 3 na siya. So balance na yung number of atoms ng ating sulfur. So balance na yung number of atoms ng ating oxygen, ng ating hydrogen at ng ating sulfur. So yung aluminum na lang yung natitira. So since ito ay 2 atoms, dito naman ay 1 atom lang. So dito maglalagay tayo ng 2 na coefficient in order to balance with 2 atoms dito sa product. Okay, so now balance na sila.